Hello, Bermuda, and welcome once again to our latest edition of This Week in Government. I'm your host, Darrell. This Week in Government is aimed at providing you with first-hand and insightful information from the key decision makers in government. Today, we are pleased to have with us the Minister of Youth, Culture and Sports, the Honorable Senator Owen Darrell. May is Heritage Month, which culminates with the Bermuda Day festivities, one of Bermuda's biggest cultural events, which will be observed on Friday, May 26. Minister Darrell, welcome.
Troy, thanks for having me.
Minister, you're fairly new to your ministry, so can you give us a brief overview for our viewers as to what your ministry does and its significance in the community?
Well, Troy, the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sport comprises of three sections, as we'll call them. The first is the headquarters that deals with all of the administrative work of the ministry. And then there are two departments, the Department of Culture, which is led by Director Dr. Kim Dismont-Robinson, and the Director of Youth and the Department of Youth, Sport and Recreation, which is led by the first female Director of Youth, Sport and Recreation, Ms. Kay Sharice Bean. So those are the two departments, and as people would have seen over the last 6 months, I've done my best to highlight the work of these departments by getting out into community and supporting the work that these departments do. As you would know, the Department of Culture does a really good job of highlighting the creatives of this country, the arts, and we're happy to have Ms. Shana Hollis, who's the new chair of the Bermuda Arts Council. And they support the creatives in Bermuda through grants and the like. Also with the Department of Sport, we have 26 national sport governing bodies that we assist and support, whether it be financially and other in-kind services. So we get out in the community and observe the sports. You would have seen me at football games and cricket games and swim meets and the like. Also, we take care of Bermuda's youth. And the most prominent way that we do that is through the running of after-school programs, camps that we have during the school holidays, including the very popular government summer day camp. So that's an overview of what we do. We also have some facilities that we manage. Bernard Park, the tennis stadium, the netball court, which we're working to renovate at this current time, the softball diamond, and a few other recreation facilities around the island. So it is a ministry that is front and center in the community, and I'm happy with the work that all staff are doing to bring these services to the country.
Minister, as you've indicated, your ministry is responsible for a number of community-facing programs and initiatives. And as we are having this discussion, it is Heritage Month. We are celebrating that, which is one of the busiest or more exciting months in Bermuda's calendar. I'm wondering, can you give us some insight as to what we can expect for this year's theme for Heritage Month for Bermuda Day?
Well, as you may or may not know, the theme for this year, Heritage Month, is a Bermuda Renaissance. And as we know, Bermuda has long had a history of being a bedrock of the community. Bermudians tend to punch way above their weight. And I think Renaissance is a good time for us to look back and reflect on all the success that Bermudians have had over the years. Heritage Day, Bermuda Day, people used to call it May 24th, but as you do say, the holiday is on May 26th this year, has always been my favorite holiday. In a previous career, I was very much involved in culture of Bermuda. You would know I was a social studies educator. So it's something that I've studied in depth and shared with individuals in this country for many, many years. So it's a holiday that I love to get out and see Bermudians just soaking in the atmosphere and relishing in the traditions that we have. So Bermuda Day, as you did note, is May 26th of this year. The parade route will remain the same. So it's good to have some continuity. So we are in the process of putting the final touches on the Bermuda Day Parade. I'm very happy with the level of participation that we've seen in the parade, and I want to say thank you to many of Bermuda's corporate sponsors who have come on board this year and given direct support to these groups. As we as Bermudians line the streets and we cheer for our favorite majorette group and dance group, sometimes we don't realize the amount of time, effort, and financial resources that actually goes into putting on and displaying our culture. And this year we took the bull by the horns and we went out and we asked corporate sponsors if they would come on and partner with the Department of Culture and give direct financial support to many of the groups in this year's parade. So I'm happy to say that they have come on board, and this is probably why we have increased participation in this year's parade.
Minister, as we all know, the Department of Culture is widely known for organizing the Bermuda Day Parade and Heritage Month activities, but you indicated that there are a wide array of other things going on for this month. I'm wondering if you can talk about one program, and that is the Cultural Apprenticeship Program. Can you give us some more details about that?
Yes, well, the Cultural Apprenticeship Program was put in place to ensure that our cultural traditions do not get lost. For many years, we as Bermudians prided ourselves on the fact that we just naturally pass down certain traditions. And I can give you examples of like kite making, architecture, and food, and doll making, boat building, and things of that nature that, from generation to generation will pass down. But what the department has found is that we're no longer going to take that for granted, and we're not going to take a chance and hope that traditions get passed down, because we could find ourselves where those traditions get lost. So what we've come up with is the Cultural Apprenticeship Program, where we actually pair young Bermudians with long-serving stalwarts in these cultural and traditions of Bermuda. I can give you one example now, and there's many. Mr. Larry Mills, who's long known as a Bermuda mason and builder in Bermuda. He has just recently taken part in this Cultural Apprenticeship Program, and he's had 2 young Bermudians under his wing, showing them the trade, so that the tradition of Bermuda architecture does not get lost. Mr. Milton Hill has been working in the schools to pass on the tradition of Bermuda boat building and woodwork. So there are many others, Mr. Ferreira and others, who are come on board, and we want to thank them for being part of this Cultural Apprenticeship Program, so that more Bermudians can really keep the tradition alive.
I want to quickly talk about sports. We've seen some recent success with Bermuda athletes at the Carifta Games and with the Bermuda national cricket team in Argentina as examples. Can you tell us about the significance of this success of Bermudians competing on the world stage, and share what your ministry is doing to help support national governing bodies?
Well, if you would recall, in this year's budget, it was very important that the ministry and the Department of Youth, Sport and Recreation has actually increased the budget for high-performing and elite athletes. And in the time that I've been in this role, we've had calls from many different athletes and organizing bodies, sports bodies, to ask what can government do to further support our athletes. And a lot of times that support is financial support. And again, I will call out and shout out to the corporate sponsors to also assist in that sponsorship. But sometimes the support goes in other ways. And you would recall that I did travel to Argentina in February to support our men's T20 national cricket team, and the appreciation that they had as players, that the government was actually supporting sports by their presence, was overwhelming. I did attend the Carifta Games, and there's a huge rivalry at Carifta, and it's mainly between Bahamas and Jamaica, because they're known as the dominant sprinters in the Caribbean. But for Bermuda to come out of those games, and the swimmers as well, who were down in Curacao, to come out of those games with 8 medals in Curacao and 5 medals in Bahamas, shows that, as I said before, Bermuda is a force on the sports stage. And we're going to do as much as we can with the resources that we have to show the Bermudian athletes as well as their supporters that we are supporting sport in this country.
And staying on the subject of sports, we see there's some significant work taking place at the National Sports Center. Can you give us an update on this work that's taking place and why it's important?
Well, as everyone would know, the cost of electricity in this country is extremely high. And to continue to operate a world-class sports center, it was thought by the government that we need to do something to bring the cost of electricity down, or cost of operating the National Stadium. So if people have been by the NSC recently, you would see that the carport that has been put up is complete. The solar panels are all on, and they are in the final stages of actually running the cables to connect up that solar plant so that we can reduce the cost of electricity of running the National Sports Center. You would know that many Bermudians go up and utilize the pool for fitness. They call it the Aquatic Center. There's a diving camp, a very prominent diving camp that happens in the summer. And you see we've increased the access to national sports governing bodies at the NSC. So it's important that as we increase access, free access, that we find other ways to make the usage of the National Sports Center sustainable. And I'm happy to report that we are nearing the finish line to completion of the National Sports Center Energy Project.
You're watching This Week in Government, and we're talking with the Minister of Youth, Culture, and Sports. We'll be right back after this message.
The following message is brought to you by the Transport Control Department and the Road Safety Office. Did you know that most rear-end collisions can easily be avoided by adopting a safe following distance? Many road collisions are caused when vehicles are traveling too closely together, and when one vehicle stops suddenly and a following vehicle does not stop in time. This type of collision can easily be avoided if vehicles are kept at a safe distance between each other. The rule of thumb is to maintain at least a 2-second following distance and 4 seconds on wet roads and at night. This will give you ample time to react and avoid potentially dangerous situations. We can all make our roads safer by avoiding rear-end collisions. Adopting a safe driving distance can make a major difference. A message from the Transport Control Department and the Road Safety Office.
Welcome back to This Week in Government. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Minister Owen Darrell, the Minister of Youth, Culture, and Sports. Minister, your ministry was involved with the implementation of a national youth policy. Can you give us an update on that policy and particularly what progress has been made to date?
Well, the National Youth Policy came into effect in 2021. And about a year ago, we put together a youth working group to work through those 8 policy goals and to implement them into society and bring them to reality. And just recently, you would have seen that the report, the one-year report from that working group has been released. And what we're doing is we are taking our time and we're going out and we're speaking to the youth to say, well, this is what the ministry has come up with. How do we implement that? How do we put in place? And I've been happy to be able to get out in the community. I've gone to different ends of the island and different youth organizations, different community organizations that specialize in assisting the youth. And I'm very happy to see that the working group, the policy, and the community are actually all on the same page as to what is needed to assist our youth in fulfilling their full potential.
Cup match is coming up in a few months. How does that play on our cultural calendar?
Well, I'm happy to say that the planning for Cup match is well underway. Everyone would know that it is in St. George's this year. So my ministry has been speaking with the principals of St. George's Cricket Club. We are also been speaking with members from other ministries, such as the Ministry of National Security, as to the engineering and all of the sign-offs that go to not only putting on a really good event that is obviously hosted by the clubs, but to make sure that everyone is safe. So those meetings are in progress, and I am very happy to report that where we are right now, the Department of Youth, Sport and Recreation is pleased to see that the planning for cup matches is on schedule.
Another initiative we've been hearing about is plans for a Gombe Festival.
Well, yes, as you would know, the Gombe Festival has now become a staple of the calendar. And, you know, we have budgeted for the Gombe Festival to continue. Last year, you'll recall that festival actually expanded a bit. And what we're trying to do with the Gombe Festival is not just get Bermudians out to obviously watch the Gombes, but we want to again, as we talked about before, with traditions and getting people to understand all of the intricate details that go into these Gombes putting on a performance. Our ministry and the Department of Culture has been instrumental in bringing the Gombe groups together. As you've seen earlier this year, there was a huge display of unity where all Gombe troops for the first time ever participated and danced together as one. And we're looking forward to continuing that theme of unity right on up to the Gombe Festival later this year, and getting the public to recognize other aspects that go into the Gombe. I know there's a young lady, and we're going to be promoting her and highlighting her, who has taken to put on workshops to show Bermudians and to teach the Bermudians how you create Gombe costumes and capes and uniforms and the like. So the Gombe is long been a strong tradition of Bermuda, and the Gombe Festival is one way to highlight and showcase what a wonderful tradition we have.
June is right around the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the Special Olympics will be taking place?
Yes, this year the Special Olympics is happening in Berlin, Germany. And earlier this year, the department was asked to participate in the Olympic torch run, which came to Bermuda. And the junior minister, Mr. Kim Swan, and myself went up to the National Sports Center to participate in that. And you know, it's very interesting that we talk about national sports governing bodies using the National Sports Center as they prepare to competitions. I actually spend some time at National Sports Center, and I've run into many of these Olympians, the Special Olympians that are going to be going to Berlin as they prepare and get ready. So I just want to take a shout out to their coaches because, as they say, proper preparation prevents poor performance. And I can assure the public that the Special Olympians are putting in their preparation. They are utilizing some of the facilities at the National Sports Center. And I look forward to supporting the Special Olympics as they represent Bermuda to put on a good showing this summer in Berlin, Germany.
Another major event on the sporting calendar this year is going to be the ICC qualifying tournament in the world of cricket. Can you give us some insight into what's going to happen with that?
Well, as we discussed, one of the qualifying tournaments was in Argentina, and Bermuda came through that qualifying tournament with flying colors. They did not lose a game. This next one is the final test for us to attempt to qualify for the ICC T20 World Cup, which will be in 2024. And I'm happy to say that this tournament will be held this year in September at two venues, the National Sports Center as well as the White Hill Field. And if Bermuda progresses through that tournament, it's only one team that progresses. If Bermuda goes through in this qualifying, which is held on home soil, we will, for the first time ever, be in the T20 ICC World Cup, which is being held in the United States next year. So I'm going to call on all Bermudians to you know, we know how to go out and support cricket through county games and cup match. And I'm calling on all Bermudians to come out in September and really support our team. Corporate sponsors, I'm asking you to get behind this tournament and assist the BCB so that we can prepare ourselves to quite possibly qualify for the World Cup next year.
Well, Minister, thank you very much for coming here today and talking about your ministry's initiatives. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Minister of Youth, Culture and Sports, Owen Darrell. And you've been watching the latest edition of This Week in Government. I'm Tarai Trott. Thank you for watching.